Hello, my name is Bill Wilkie, he, him, front end, and the app we created for our capstone project was called Gumberoo. I came up with the idea for this app after watching my partner, an elementary school educator, struggle with finding accessible software for her third grade students to take assessments. Let's go ahead and introduce the rest of the team.
Hi, I'm Derek Borski, back end, he, him.
Hi, I'm Max Mitrani, he, him, backend.
Hi, I'm Melanie Tran, she, her, back end.
I'm Melissa Van Kempen, she, her, front end.
And I'm Kyle Wong, he, him, front end.
Gumberoo welcomes its users with an overall of goals, objectives, and technologies. When a user clicks on the Create an Assessment button, a form appears to create a new assessment. A title, correct answer, and at minimum one incorrect answer are required. Once a specific question is done, by clicking on the Add a Question button, it'll populate on the right side as a card. A user can add and delete as many questions as they would like. When clicking on the Generate Assessment button, the assessment is submitted and it is ready to begin again. The assessments will show all assessments created and allow the user to copy the link to easily share that specific assessment with their class. When clicking on the title, it'll bring up additional details and data of that specific assessment. The students page shows every student in the class. When you click on a student's name, specific details for each student are generated, ranging from an average score and specific score and mood of each assessment. Lastly, the user can easily add a new student if needed.
After a student receives the link, they select their name from the drop-down menu and hit submit to trigger it to begin. The assessments come in a colorblind friendly palette designed by the esteemed creative director at the Broad Institute of MIT, Mr. Bang Wong. Assessments are written in the open source OpenDyslexia font and are completely mobility and screen reader friendly. Included as well are animations with reassuring sentiments being said to help anxious students along the way. Upon a student's completion of an assessment, they can submit how they are feeling, and the messages run through IBM's Watson Tone Analyzer AI system. The analytics are sent back to the teacher, along with the number of correct answers and their message.
Gumberoo incorporates a variety of technologies. On the back end, our service was built in Python Django with a PostgreSQL database. We made API calls to IBM Watson's Tone Analyzer to return an analysis on each student's response on how they felt after each assessment. On the front end, our application was built in React with React hooks. We used Redux for global statement management. Both the front end and back end were tested, with the back end using unit tests while the front end used Jest with React testing library. Travis CI was used for continuous integration. Both apps were deployed with the backend on Heroku and the front end on Netlify.
Front end wins and challenges. One of the biggest wins was making the site fully accessible. Using the Lighthouse audit, we ended up with a 100% accessibility score on both teacher side and the student side. Everybody on the front end team worked with either Redux or React hooks on previous projects, but never worked with them together. So this was a great chance for us to teach and learn from each other. And we were able to get a small JavaScript animation working on the student side using sprite sheets. Our wins also presented us with some challenges. Using the use effect hook was difficult for us to figure out. We were getting behavior from it that was unexpected, so there was some serious debugging that had to be done in order for us to get to the desired result. As always, async functions gave us some issues. In particular, our Redux thunk calls were difficult to implement and test. And our last challenge was that our styling kept changing on the deployed app. We had to do a lot of styling in the dev tools to get to a proper representation of what would actually be rendered on the page.
We also had a number of wins and challenges on the backend side. To start with our wins, our first being that we were able to build this out from scratch using Python and Django, which were entirely new concepts to us. We were also able to use the Watson Tone Analyzer API, and that really gave our teachers some good insight into their students' moods after taking the lesson. We're also able to build out a number of statistics endpoints, which give our teachers good actionable data into their students' performance. And we achieved 97% test coverage and thoroughly TDD the entire way. For our challenges, the first one definitely was the Django framework and learning the in and outs of that. But I'll say that we overcame this by thorough reading of documentation and a strong willingness to learn from our team. Deployment to Heroku was also a major hurdle for us, but we overcame this by splitting our application into multiple environments, production and development, which really gave us control over each environment settings. And finally, we had to create a number of large nested endpoints involving multiple resources, but we solved this by using the powerful serializers built into the Django REST framework, which we imported into our application.
All right. Lastly, we'd like to talk about future iterations of Gumberoo and what we have planned. First, we want to get a teacher login actually set up so that they have actual real authentication and security about their lessons and students. After that, we would want to get a reward system set up to make it a little bit more interesting for the students as they go through the assessments. They might be able to collect random or at least randomized gifts or little animals or trinkets, any type of thing we could come up with to keep them a little bit more engaged, as well as the ability to add separate classes to a teacher so that they can have lessons for one class and lessons for another, and those will be separated out. They can get statistics on each class. Could be really beneficial, especially in real life application where teachers have lots of classes. We'd also like to have more data coming in from the Watson tone analyzer. There was a lot there that we haven't quite touched yet that we could really bring in for cool statistics. And finally, some delete functionality so they can get rid of students or lessons or assignments instead of having them just sitting around and taking up space if they don't want them. Otherwise, that's pretty much all we have right now as far as future iterations. Once we get those applied, we'd love to come up with some new and exciting new stuff to add to Gumberoo, and I hope you liked it.